So we've talked quite a bit about iBuying and Opendoor on my channel, and we're going to talk about Opendoor again. We just heard some recent numbers from them, and to be fair, in the past, our commentary wasn't all that positive. And there are things that still concern me about the business. We're going to get into those, but before we get into what we thought about this quarter, please take a minute and take a look at the link you see on your screen right now. It's from our sponsor, The Motley Fool. You can get the top 10 stocks to buy right now, and it's a great way to support this work we're doing. So, Opendoor's fourth quarter, I'm just going to run down a couple of the big numbers and how they compare to what we thought was going to happen, or the company thought was going to happen. So, in the fourth quarter, Opendoor bought almost 3,700 homes. It was 17% more than it did the previous quarter, so it's clearly seeing some opportunities. It sold a little under 2,400 homes. So it bought significantly more than it sold. So it was an inventory building quarter for the first time in a little while. Those numbers were definitely reversed for a little while as they tried to get rid of some old inventory. From those sales, it made $870 million of revenue, and its margins were better than expected. It posted a 3.4% contribution margin, which is a great real estate margin metric. It takes interest costs and stuff like that into account. That was better than expected. And the margin from its new book, as it calls it, which is the homes it bought after the mortgage rates started going up and things started normalizing in the real estate market or crashing in some cases. The new book of business is much more profitable than the old book, which is mostly off the balance sheet at this point. Gross margins are a little over 8%, which is really what you can expect from an iBuying business. This is like what Walmart is to retail. You don't plan on a high margin. These are just very high volume transactions that a small margin, if done correctly, will be enough. An 8% to 10% gross margin, I would say that would be the iBuying business working. It's still not very profitable. The company plans to, eventually reach GAAP profitability. Of course, that's the goal of pretty much every business. But in 2024, it thinks it's going to make some significant progress toward it. It's targeting a contribution margin overall of 5 to 7%, which would be a nice improvement. And beyond 2024, really sees a path to positive net income. So I have, just speaking for myself, I think this quarter was a little more impressive than I thought it was going to be. Tyler, did you kind of get that same vibe from Opendoor's quarter?
Yeah, I think of the two of us, even though you haven't been super high on Opendoor, I guess you could say you were the most optimist of the two of us. But I will give some credence to Opendoor for what appears to be a much better quarter. And at least there is some sort of sliver of a viable business, maybe not the most investable business in the world, but certainly something there where, as you said, this kind of new book concept, if you will, of being able to bring in business at a higher margin, it almost feels like a resetting of the algorithm for their pricing because, early on, I mean, I think you and I both saw this, it was for Opendoor and a lot of its competitors. It was very much like a land grab, right? Where they're just trying to take as many houses as possible and grow and show revenue growth and things like that. But, when you're only making, a 1% margin on something like that, gross margin, it's going to struggle. This past quarter, the thing that was surprising to me is, like you said, we actually saw an inventory build, a considerable one actually this past quarter relative to what we had been seeing, for several quarters in a row. It was just basically hemorrhaging inventory in the idea of like, we want to get the stuff off of our books as quick as possible and kind of reset the build business. Fourth quarter, they added about $469 million worth of inventory in houses, while at the same time, they didn't take on any debt to do so. Actually paid down about $220 million worth of its debt load and kind of just deploying the cash that's on the balance sheet right now to build out its inventory. So, debt-free purchases is nice. It's going to help certainly improve any sort of margin that you're going to get on it, and that's kind of further down the road, further down the line, or the lines on the income statement. So it appears that management, a much quieter management, the founder left the business late last year. I think December maybe, and the new management team that has brought in, it almost kind of feels like they're there to just kind of pick up the mess and see if they can make a viable business out of this. And while I still significantly have my doubts that it's going to be a highly profitable, very lucrative investment, it appears at least management here is making a wholehearted attempt to bring this business to something that's sustainable and viable over the long term, which credit to them for doing that. I'd like to see a couple more quarters of it, and I'm still going to remain incredibly skeptical of this until we see some significant improvement in the financials. But I do have to give credit where credit's due, and they are making progress on that front. And I'd like to see them actually improve on that, and hopefully we can see that in the next couple quarters.
One thing that's really stood out to me about Opendoor is the progress they've made with incorporating partnerships into their business. There are a couple kind of offsetting interesting facts about the quarter. In the year, in 2023, ad spending was down 60% year over year. I know for a fact I got a lot more Opendoor mailers in 2022 than I did in 2023. They're spending less on advertising. They're going to ramp it up a little bit this year, but the partnerships they've built out have kind of created a marketing funnel that doesn't require ad spending. It's kind of like a profit sharing, or like, they give them some of the fee they make off the home purchase. Zillow and Redfin are two big ones. They partner with Realtor.com. The Redfin partnership was actually just extended. They've started partnering with home builders. Lennar is an example, with just big real estate brokers like eXp Realty, which is the biggest independent brokerage in the nation. The acquisitions of properties that they've made through partners is up 140% since the beginning of 2023, up 35% just since the third quarter. So the partnership programs are clearly working. The Zillow one has really started to be ramped up. The partnership's been going on for a while now, but at the end of last year, 2022, it was in 2 different markets. They were just kind of testing it out. Now the Zillow partnership's in 45 markets. So it's working. It's creating a nice marketing funnel. People can go on Zillow, request an offer from Opendoor while they're trying to sell their house, pick the best of the 2 options for them. And it's a really good way for Zillow and Redfin to incorporate iBuying into their business, and 2, for Opendoor to really, cut down on their ad expenses while still marketing their product. I knew that the partnerships were going to be a success. I didn't know they were going to be that much of a success where it would really going to just double the acquisition volume they're generating within a year. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to click subscribe if you don't subscribe to my channel already. And as always, this video is sponsored by The Motley Fool. Be sure to visit www.fool.com/Frankel to receive the top 10 best stocks to buy now.